Chosen one, listen carefully. They looked at that face of yours, soft eyes, easy smile, nothing sharp about it on the surface, and they made a decision right there on the spot. This one's harmless. This one won't push back. This one is an easy win. That decision is the mistake that's about to cost them everything. And honestly, it already has. You know the look. The one where somebody sizes you up in 2 seconds and decides you're not a threat before you've said a single word. They saw a baby face and read it as an invitation. Soft meant slow to them. Young meant naive. Kind meant weak. So they picked their moment, they picked their words, and they picked you, thinking it would be the easiest thing they'd ever done. What they didn't factor in was the version of you that doesn't announce itself, the one that doesn't wear its strength on the outside because it's never needed to. You let them believe what they wanted to believe. You let the smile stay soft, while everything underneath it stayed sharp, watching, calculating, patient. That's not an accident. That's exactly how people like you survive rooms full of people who confuse gentleness with permission. So they came at you, loud, confident, certain there'd be no resistance, certain you'd fold the second the pressure hit. And chosen one, what happened next is the part they still can't talk about without their voice changing. Because you didn't fold, you didn't flinch. You didn't even raise your voice, you just responded, and that response humbled them in a way no shouting match ever could have. This is the story of what happens when somebody mistakes your softness for your ceiling. This is the story of the fight they picked and instantly regretted picking. This is the story of a humbling nobody saw coming, except you, because you already knew exactly how this would end before they'd even opened their mouth. Somewhere in the middle of all this, they're going to learn something people like them rarely learn in time to save themselves from it. A face tells you nothing about what a person has already survived. Before we get into what actually happened, hit that like button and subscribe if you're one of the real ones, one of the chosen who's felt this exact thing happen in their own life. Consider it your way of saying, I know exactly what this feels like. Now let's get into it. But first, understand this. Nothing about what's coming was luck. Nothing about it was random timing or a good day. It was the direct, inevitable result of somebody deciding your face was the whole story, when your face was never even the first chapter. Number 1. The read they got wrong before you even said a word. This starts the way it always starts, with somebody making a judgment based on nothing but your face. They looked at you and saw soft features, an easy expression, a voice that doesn't come out sharp even when it wants to, and they filled in the rest of the story themselves. They decided you were young for your years, easy to steer, easy to talk over, easy to blame. None of that was true. All of it was convenient for them. People like that don't actually study you. They glance, they guess, and they build a whole strategy on a guess. That's how confident they get. That's how careless they get. They didn't do the work of finding out who you actually are before they decided how to treat you. And that laziness is the first crack in everything that came after. Chosen one, you've felt this before, this specific situation. You've watched people talk slower around you, like you needed the extra help. You've watched them explain things you already understood twice, just to be safe. You've watched them assume the loudest person in the room must be the strongest one, and mistake your quiet for an empty tank. That assumption is a gift, even when it doesn't feel like one in the moment. It means people underestimate exactly how much you're tracking. It means they walk into situations with you thinking they hold every card, when really, they've shown you their whole hand before the first round even starts. That's what happened here. They looked at your face and thought they were reading an open book. What they were actually looking at was a closed door with a very good disguise. And the moment they decided to test what was behind it, the moment they decided your softness meant they could push, poke, provoke, or disrespect you without consequence. They set something in motion they had zero ability to stop. You didn't ask for the confrontation, you didn't want it. But once it landed on your doorstep, something in you didn't panic the way they expected. It calculated, it waited, it let them keep talking, keep assuming, keep digging, because every extra word out of their mouth was more information you didn't have to ask for. They thought they were winning that conversation. They were actually building the exact case that would humble them later. Think about how often this happens in ordinary life, long before it ever becomes a story worth telling. Somebody decides who you are based on your tone of voice, your age, the softness in your eyes, and they never once stop to ask if that read is accurate. It rarely is. People who've had to be underestimated more than once develop something the world doesn't teach in any classroom, an instinct for exactly when someone is measuring them wrong, and exactly how to let that misjudgment work in their favor instead of against them. You didn't correct them in that first moment. You didn't need to. You let the wrong read stand, because a wrong read is the most useful thing an opponent can carry into a fight they don't know they've already lost. That's the part they still don't understand. The read was wrong from the very first second, and everything that followed was just the universe collecting the receipts on their mistake. You might wonder why you never bothered correcting them earlier, why you let the misjudgment sit there unchallenged for as long as it did. The answer is simple. Correcting somebody's assumption about you out loud only works on people who are actually listening, and people who've already decided who you are based on your face were never going to hear it anyway. Some lessons only land when reality delivers them directly, without your help, without your explanation, without you spending a single ounce of energy trying to convince someone of something they were determined not to believe. Number 2, the watching they mistook for weakness. Here's something people rarely say out loud, but it's true every single time. The quiet ones aren't quiet because they have nothing to say. They're quiet because they're paying attention to everything, and talking gets in the way of that. While they were busy performing confidence at you, laughing a little too loud, throwing little digs disguised as jokes, testing how far they could go, you were doing something they never clocked. You were watching, not nervously, not defensively, just watching, the way someone watches a pattern before they decide what to do with it. You noticed how their tone changed, depending on who else was in the room. You noticed how brave they got the second they thought they had an audience. You noticed the difference between what they said to your face and the energy they carried when they thought no one was measuring them. That's the thing about a soft face and a calm voice. It makes people forget they're being read. They think because you're not reacting, you're not registering. They think silence is the same as blank. It never is. Every single thing they did in that stretch of time, every eye roll, every smug comment, every moment they postured for people who weren't even impressed, it all went somewhere. It got filed. It got understood. Imagine a security camera mounted somewhere nobody thinks to look, quietly recording every angle of a room, while everyone inside it assumes there's no footage at all. That was you, chosen one, the entire time. Not because you set out to gather evidence against them, but because paying attention is simply how you move through the world, and it always has been. And chosen one, this is exactly why what happened later hit so hard. It wasn't a reaction built in the heat of the moment. It was a response built on weeks, maybe months, of quiet observation they never knew was happening. They thought you were an easy read because your face doesn't do the thing their face does when they're irritated or offended or hurt. You don't broadcast, you process. And people who don't process anything themselves, who react the second something touches them, cannot imagine that kind of patience exists in someone else. So they filled that silence with their own story. They decided your calm meant you weren't paying attention, weren't smart enough to notice, weren't going to do anything, even if you did notice. Every single one of those assumptions was wrong, and every single one of those assumptions is exactly why the humbling that came next landed as hard as it did. You can't prepare for a punch you never saw building, and they never saw this one building because they were too busy mistaking your watching for weakness. Ask yourself how many times in your own life this exact pattern has repeated itself. Someone assuming you're quiet meant your mind was empty. Someone talking around you like you weren't fully present. Someone treating your patience like it was proof you had nothing worth saying. Every time that's happened, chosen one, you've been quietly building the same skill this moment required. Reading people accurately isn't something you turn on for emergencies. It's something you practice constantly, in every ordinary interaction, until it becomes so natural nobody even realizes it's happening, including the people it's happening to. Number 3, the first move that told you everything you needed to know. Every confrontation has a first move, the moment somebody decides they're actually going to try it, and that moment tells you more about a person than almost anything else. When they finally came at you, it wasn't subtle. It rarely is with people who've convinced themselves they're untouchable. Maybe it was a comment dropped in front of others, timed to embarrass you. Maybe it was a decision made about you without asking you, made because they assumed you wouldn't push back. Maybe it was flat-out disrespect, the kind that only shows up when someone has fully convinced themselves there will be no cost. Whatever shape it took, it had one thing in common with every version of this story. They expected silence. They expected you to shrink, apologize, laugh it off, smooth it over, so they could keep moving without any friction. That's the entire business model of people who pick targets based on how someone looks, rather than who someone is. They're not looking for a fair fight. They're looking for zero resistance. And for a second, maybe they even got what they wanted. Maybe you paused. Maybe you let the moment breathe instead of reacting instantly, because reacting instantly was never your style to begin with. But chosen one, that pause wasn't surrender. That pause was you deciding exactly how this was going to go, because you'd already been watching long enough to know precisely where they were weak. Picture someone walking confidently onto ice they assume is solid, never checking, never testing, just walking because nothing has ever cracked under them before. That's exactly what this first move was. They stepped out onto you the same way, assuming the ground would hold the same way it always had with people who never pushed back. That's the part they couldn't see coming. They built their whole approach on the assumption that your face meant your reflexes were slow, that your kindness meant your memory was short, that your softness meant you didn't have a spine underneath it. The first move they made wasn't just an attack. It was a confession. It told you exactly how little respect they had for you, exactly how confident they were that nothing would happen, and exactly how far they were willing to go because nobody had ever made them pay for it before. You took that information and you didn't waste it. While they were busy feeling proud of the shot they just took, you were already 3 moves ahead of them, because unlike them, you never needed an audience to know exactly what you were capable of. That's the part people forget when they replay this story later. It wasn't a lucky comeback. It wasn't you rising to an occasion you weren't ready for. You were ready for it long before they decided to create it, and the only real question was ever going to be when, not if, someone like this would eventually show up and test the theory that a soft face means an easy target. That's what makes the first move so predictable in hindsight. It's never a matter of if somebody tries it. Somebody always tries it eventually, because the world is full of people who trust their eyes more than they trust their judgment. The only real variable is who that someone turns out to be, and how badly they end up regretting the choice once they realize exactly who they walked up to. Number 4, the calm that turned their confidence into confusion. This is the part that unravels people every single time, and it's the part they never see coming because it doesn't look like what they expect power to look like. You didn't yell, you didn't cry, you didn't scramble to defend yourself the way they were counting on. You just stayed calm, and that calm did something to the room that no outburst ever could have. Think about what they were prepared for. They were prepared for a reaction they could control, a reaction they could spin, a reaction that would let them play the victim in front of everyone watching. Anger, they could work with. Tears, they could work with. Panic, they absolutely could work with. What they could not work with was you looking them dead in the eye, staying completely composed, and responding with exactly the right amount of truth to make the room go quiet. That kind of calm is disorienting to someone who built their entire approach on provoking a mess. It's the equivalent of throwing a punch at someone who simply steps aside, and suddenly they're the one stumbling, off balance, exposed in front of the same people they were trying to perform for. You watched their confidence flicker the second they realized this wasn't going the way they scripted it. You watched them start talking faster, repeating themselves, reaching for something, anything, that would put them back in control of a moment that had already slipped away from them. That's the tell. That's always the tell. People don't get louder when they're winning. They get louder when they're losing, and they know it. Imagine somebody trying to start a fire with wet matches, striking again and again, getting more frustrated with every failed spark, while the person they're aiming at just stands there, dry, untouched, waiting. That was them, burning through their whole strategy in a matter of seconds, because none of it was built for someone who refused to catch. Your calm wasn't an accident, and it wasn't luck. It was the direct result of everything you'd already processed about them long before this moment happened. You weren't improvising, you were executing, and chosen one. That difference is exactly what humbled them, because they walked in expecting to dominate somebody they'd already decided was soft, and they walked out having been read, answered, and outclassed by the same person, without that person ever having to raise their voice once. People sometimes ask why calm hits harder than anger in moments like this, and the answer is almost embarrassingly simple. Anger tells someone you're affected. Calm tells someone you were never actually threatened to begin with. There is no comeback for that, no clever line, no way to save face in front of a room that just watched somebody's whole plan dissolve against a person who never even had to try. That's the quiet cruelty of calm, if you can even call it cruelty. It doesn't attack. It simply refuses to participate in the chaos somebody else needed in order to win. And without that participation, the entire plan runs out of oxygen on its own. Number 5. The warning they laughed off before it hit. Somewhere along the way, somebody probably told them to be careful. Somebody who actually knew you, who'd seen a little more than the surface, likely said some version of, "That one's not what you think," or "I wouldn't push that," or simply, "You're making a mistake." And chosen one, you already know exactly what they did with that warning. They laughed. They rolled their eyes. They said something dismissive about how they weren't scared of a baby face, how there was nothing intimidating about someone who smiles that easily and talks that softly. That warning meant nothing to them because it didn't match the story they'd already written in their head. This is the trap that catches people like this every single time. They don't just underestimate you, they underestimate the people who already know better than to underestimate you, and they mistake that warning for exaggeration instead of information. Somebody handed them a map around the exact thing that was about to humble them, and they threw it away because it didn't fit their assumptions. That's not bad luck on their part. That's arrogance refusing correction, and arrogance that refuses correction always ends up paying the most expensive tuition there is. Picture someone standing in front of a clearly marked sign, warned twice, told plainly what's on the other side of a door, and walking through it anyway because they've decided the sign doesn't apply to them. That's exactly what this was. The warning existed. It was specific. It was ignored on purpose, because acknowledging it meant admitting they might be wrong about you, and admitting that felt smaller to them than just plowing ahead. You didn't need to hear about that warning to know it existed. You could feel it in the way certain people got quieter, in the way certain people watched the situation unfold with a look that said they already knew how this was going to end. And when it did end, when the humbling actually happened in front of everyone, the same people who gave that ignored warning weren't shocked at all. They weren't surprised. They just watched, calm, almost amused, because they'd said it. They'd tried to save this person from themselves, and this person had been too busy being confident in their own misread to listen. Chosen one, this is one of the quiet joys buried inside this whole story. You didn't have to say a single threatening word beforehand. Reality did the warning for you, and reality's warnings always land harder than anything a person could have said out loud, precisely because nobody believes them until it's already too late to undo what's coming. There's something almost poetic about the way ignored warnings work themselves out in the end. The person who tried to help them see clearly doesn't need to say, "I told you so." The outcome does the talking, loud enough that the warning basically repeats itself in everyone's memory the second the humbling actually happens. And from that point forward, nobody who was in that room is likely to make the same mistake of dismissing a warning about you again. Number 6. What the soft face was hiding the entire time. Here's the part that really gets under their skin once it settles in, once the shock wears off and the truth becomes impossible to avoid. That face they read as harmless was never the whole story. It was never even close to the whole story. Somewhere behind that easy smile was every lesson you'd already survived, every time someone else had underestimated you and paid for it. Every instinct you'd sharpened, specifically because the world keeps sending people who think gentle means unguarded. You didn't build that instinct in the moment they crossed the line. You built it long before they ever showed up, through every situation that taught you patience isn't the same as passivity, and quiet isn't the same as empty. That's the thing about people who've had to prove themselves more than once because of how they look, or how young they seem, or how soft their voice sounds. They don't stay unprepared for long, they adapt. They start reading rooms faster than the people who've never had to. They start noticing the exact moment somebody's tone shifts from friendly to condescending, because they've had to notice it 100 times before. Think of it like a coin that's been mistaken for something worthless because of the dull side facing up, when the other side, the one nobody bothered flipping over, has been solid all along. So when this person finally tried you, they weren't meeting someone who was caught off guard. They were meeting someone who had already lived this exact scenario in a dozen different rooms with a dozen different faces on it, and had learned exactly how to handle it without losing composure, without losing dignity, and without losing the upper hand. That's what was hiding behind the softness. Not a trick, not a performance. Just the accumulated result of every single person who ever mistook kindness for weakness and got proven wrong. They thought they discovered a secret weakness in you. What they actually discovered was the exact opposite, a strength they had absolutely no framework for recognizing because it didn't look the way strength looks in their world. In their world, strength is loud. Strength postures. Strength needs to be seen to be believed. Your strength never needed an audience, and that's precisely why they never saw it coming until it was standing right in front of them, calm, unshaken, and completely unwilling to be moved. This is worth sitting with for a second, chosen one, because it applies far beyond this one moment. Every soft-spoken person who's ever been underestimated has had to build this exact kind of quiet reserve, not because they wanted a confrontation, but because the world keeps sending people who assume gentleness comes without a foundation underneath it. You never asked to prove anything to anyone. But when the moment came asking for proof anyway, you already had it ready, because you'd been building it patiently the entire time nobody was watching. That kind of readiness can't be faked in the moment, and people who try to fake it always get exposed the second real pressure shows up. Yours wasn't fake. It had been years in the making, forged in every room where somebody looked at your face and decided they already knew the whole story. Number 7. Where the whole plan started falling apart on them. Every plan built on disrespect has a breaking point, the exact moment it stops working and starts backfiring. And chosen one, that moment came faster than they expected. It usually starts small. A comment that doesn't land the way they thought it would. A joke that gets silence instead of laughter. A moment where the people they expected to back them up instead go quiet, watching, waiting to see how this actually plays out, instead of automatically taking their side. That silence is the first crack. It's the moment they realize the room isn't fully behind them the way they assumed it would be, and that realization alone starts eating at their confidence even before you've said a single defining word. Then comes the part they really weren't ready for, the moment you actually respond. Not with chaos, not with the reaction they were fishing for, with something clear, something calm, something that lands exactly where it needs to land and doesn't miss. That's when you watch the whole plan collapse in real time. You can see it on a person's face when a script they memorized stops matching the scene in front of them. Their eyes shift, their jaw tightens, they start reaching for something to say and coming up short, because everything they prepared was built for a version of you that doesn't actually exist. Imagine watching someone rehearse a whole performance in front of a mirror, confident, sharp, victorious every single time, and then watching that same performance completely fall apart the second it meets an actual audience that doesn't play along. That's what this was. A rehearsed win running straight into a reality that refused to cooperate. Before we go any further into exactly how this fell apart on them, if you've ever had a moment like this, where somebody misjudged you completely and you got to watch the exact second reality corrected them, drop 77 in the comments right now. Let every other chosen one in here know you've lived this too. And if this message is landing somewhere real for you, the super thanks button is right there on your screen. It helps keep messages like this one reaching the people who need to hear them next. Now let's keep going, because the collapse was only just getting started. Once that first crack appeared, everything after it moved fast. The confidence that walked in loud left the room looking for an exit, because nothing exposes a bad plan faster than the person it was built against simply refusing to perform the role they were assigned. Once that role got rejected, there was nowhere left for the plan to go. A performance needs a scene partner willing to play along, and the moment you stopped playing the part they wrote for you, the whole script became unusable. They'd spent so much energy preparing for a version of you that never actually existed, and reality simply had no patience left for a story that wasn't true. Watching a plan fail in real time has a particular rhythm to it, a series of small hesitations stacking on top of each other until the whole thing simply stops moving forward. That's exactly the rhythm this collapse followed, one hesitation at a time, until there was nothing left to salvage. Number 8. The room that went completely silent. There's a specific kind of silence that happens when everyone in a room realizes at the exact same moment that somebody badly misjudged the situation, and chosen one, that silence is one of the loudest things you'll ever experience. It's not an awkward silence. It's not a nervous silence. It's the silence of people recalculating everything they thought they knew. Watching somebody they assumed had the upper hand get quietly, completely humbled without a single dramatic gesture. You didn't need to raise your voice for that silence to land. You didn't need an audience or a stage. The moment simply arrived on its own, the way truth always does when it's finally allowed to speak for itself instead of being talked over. People who witnessed it will remember exactly how it felt, that shift in the air, the way certain people suddenly found something very interesting to look at on their phones, the way the person who started it all seemed to shrink slightly, like they were trying to disappear from a spotlight they had personally switched on. That silence told the truth better than any argument could have. It said what nobody in that room was brave enough to say out loud. They picked the wrong person to underestimate, and everyone just watched them find that out in real time. Picture a balloon that's been slowly overinflated in front of a crowd, everyone waiting for the pop, and then it finally happens. Not loud and dramatic, just a quiet deflation that leaves nothing left to posture with. That's what that silence sounded like for them. Chosen one, you didn't ask for that silence. You didn't perform for it. You simply stopped absorbing what was being thrown at you and let the moment land exactly where it needed to land, and the room did the rest on its own. That's the difference between forcing a reaction and earning one. You never had to demand respect in that moment. Respect just quietly rearranged itself around the truth that had finally been allowed into the room. And the person who started this whole thing, the one who looked at your face and decided you'd be easy, they got to stand in that silence and feel exactly how loud it was. No comeback, no excuse, no script left to reach for. Just the sound of everyone in that room understanding, all at once, that they had badly misread the situation from the very beginning. That kind of silence doesn't need repeating for people to remember it. It becomes the story that gets told later, in versions that get slightly exaggerated with each retelling, but always land on the same central truth. Somebody thought they had an easy win, and the room watched them get proven wrong, without a single dramatic word needing to be said. Rooms remember silence like that far longer than they remember arguments. An argument fades because both sides keep repeating their version until nobody's sure what actually happened. A silence like this one doesn't need repeating because everybody who was there walked away with the exact same understanding of what it meant. Number 9. Why their own circle turned on them next. This is the part that always stings the hardest for people who build their entire identity on being untouchable, because the fallout never stays contained to just you. It spreads. The same people who used to laugh at their jokes, back their plays, and echo whatever they said, started stepping back the second they watched the whole thing collapse in front of them. Nobody wants to be standing next to someone who just got publicly, calmly, completely outmatched by the person they swore was an easy target. That's not loyalty running out. That's self-preservation kicking in, and it kicks in fast once people realize being associated with a bad read makes them look just as careless. Suddenly the jokes about you stopped landing with the same crowd. Suddenly the people who used to nod along started asking quiet questions instead, wondering out loud whether maybe they'd been too quick to go along with something that clearly wasn't fair to begin with. That shift is brutal for the person who started it, because it means the humbling didn't stay a private embarrassment. It became a shared realization, and shared realizations travel fast. Think of it like watching one domino tip over and realizing every single piece behind it was lined up the exact same way, ready to fall the moment the first one moved. That's what happened to their circle. One collapse, and suddenly nobody wanted to be standing that close to the fall. People talk. People remember who was right and who wasn't. And once the dust settled, it became painfully clear who had actually read the situation correctly from day one. You didn't have to say a single word to make that happen. You didn't campaign for anyone's sympathy or spend energy convincing people to see it your way. The truth simply did what it always does when it's finally given room to breathe. It spoke for itself, clearly enough that even the people who used to be in that person's corner couldn't keep pretending otherwise. Chosen one, this is one of the quiet gifts hidden inside a moment like this. You find out exactly who was actually paying attention the whole time, who was capable of admitting a mistake once they saw it clearly, and who was only ever loyal to whoever seemed like they were winning. That kind of clarity is worth more than any apology, because it shows you precisely who to trust the next time somebody tries to convince a room that you're the easy one. It's worth noticing, too, how quickly people rewrite their own role in a story once the outcome becomes clear. The same person who quietly went along with the original disrespect will now swear they never really agreed with it, that they always thought it was unfair. You don't need to hold that against them forever. What matters more is that they've recalibrated, that the next time somebody tries to build a similar plan against you, this same circle is far less likely to go along with it quietly. That's the ripple that keeps traveling long after the original moment ends. It's not just about what happened to the one person who started it. It's about every future situation where somebody in that circle now pauses before joining in on something that feels unfair, because they remember exactly how badly it went the last time. Number 10. The apology they're too proud to give. Here's a truth that applies almost every single time a moment like this plays out. The person who started it rarely comes back with an actual apology. Not because they don't feel it. Somewhere underneath all that bruised pride, they absolutely feel it. But admitting they were wrong means admitting they misjudged you from the surface. Admitting they let a soft voice and a gentle face fool them into thinking there was nothing behind it. And that's a harder thing for some people to say out loud than almost anything else. So instead of an apology, you get the smaller versions of it. The overly polite tone that shows up out of nowhere. The sudden effort to be agreeable, to avoid eye contact that lingers too long, to keep interactions short and careful in a way they never used to be. That's an apology in every way except the words themselves. And chosen one, you don't need the words. You already know exactly what happened, and so do they. Their behavior after the fact says more than any sentence starting with, "I'm sorry," ever could. Watch how differently they move around you now. Watch how the confidence that used to fill up a room the second they walked in has been replaced with something far more careful, far more measured. That's not maturity showing up out of nowhere. That's the direct result of finally understanding there's a cost to misreading people, and that cost has a way of sticking around long after the moment itself is over. Some people will never say the actual words out loud in their whole life, not because they're incapable of growth, but because saying it means reliving the exact moment they got it wrong in front of everyone. And pride would rather live quietly uncomfortable than say that sentence out loud. You gave them the space to say it properly if they ever chose to. You didn't demand it, didn't chase it, didn't need it to feel complete about what happened. That's the difference between someone who needed to win and someone who simply needed the truth to be understood. You already had what you needed the moment the room went quiet and the misjudgment corrected itself. The apology, if it ever comes, is just a bonus at this point. And honestly, chosen one, you've stopped waiting for it. There's a certain kind of peace that comes from releasing the need for someone to say the words out loud. You're not owed an apology to feel whole about what happened. The truth already did the heaviest lifting the moment it corrected the record in front of the people who mattered. And everything after that is simply optics that no longer change anything about how the story actually ended. Chosen one, that's the freedom that comes from not needing somebody else's admission to feel resolved. You get to walk away from this whole thing lighter than they will, because you were never carrying the guilt in the first place. They are, whether they say the word sorry or not. Number 11. What the people who once doubted you are saying now. It's a strange thing, watching people rewrite their own memory of you in real time. The same voices that used to underestimate what you were capable of The same people who nodded along when someone else decided you were the easy one, they're telling a very different story these days. Suddenly they remember always sensing there was more to you. Suddenly they recall a moment months back where they thought, there's something sharper under there. It's convenient how memory works for people who don't want to admit they were part of the problem. But chosen one, you don't need to correct their revised version of events. Let them tell it however makes them feel better. What matters is the shift in how they treat you now, the new hesitation before they talk over you, the new pause before they assume they already know how you'll react to something. That hesitation is respect, even when it's dressed up as something else. It's the direct result of watching someone get humbled after making the mistake of thinking your softness was a weakness they could exploit. People learn fast when they watch consequences happen to someone else. They don't need to experience the humbling themselves to adjust their behavior around you. They just needed to witness it once, and now every interaction carries a little more care, a little more thought, a little more respect for the fact that there's clearly more going on behind that face than they originally gave you credit for. Some of them will even bring it up unprompted, half joking, half testing the water, saying something like, "I always knew you weren't as soft as you looked." And you don't have to correct them or agree with them. You just let it sit there, because their own words are doing exactly the work you never had to do yourself. You've probably noticed it already, the way certain conversations change tone, the way certain jokes at your expense simply stopped happening without anyone announcing why. That's the ripple effect of one moment done right. You didn't have to correct every single person who ever underestimated you. You just had to let the truth show itself once, clearly, without apology, and the rest sorted itself out on its own, one recalibrated assumption at a time. It's a strange kind of validation, watching people quietly adjust their entire approach to you without ever officially admitting why. But chosen one, you don't need the official admission. You already have the evidence in front of you, in every extra beat of hesitation, every softened tone, every small shift in how carefully people choose their words around you now. None of this required you to announce anything, correct anyone publicly, or spend a single moment defending your reputation after the fact. The correction happened once, cleanly, and it kept working on its own long after you'd already moved on to thinking about something else entirely. Number 12. The moment they finally understood, soft doesn't mean weak. This is the lesson buried at the center of everything that happened, the one they're going to carry with them into every room they walk into from now on, whether they ever say it out loud or not. Soft does not mean weak. Gentle does not mean unguarded. A calm voice and an easy smile are not an invitation to disrespect, and a young face is not proof that somebody hasn't already survived more than enough to know exactly how to handle themselves. That's the correction that landed the day they tried you and got humbled instead. It wasn't personal in the way they might have first assumed. It was educational, whether they wanted the lesson or not. Somewhere out there, this person is going to meet someone else who looks a lot like you. Soft-spoken, easy to smile, easy to misread on the surface, and for the first time, they're going to hesitate before assuming anything about that person. That hesitation is the lasting mark you left behind, chosen one, and it didn't cost you a single ounce of the peace you walked in with. You didn't have to become someone else to earn that correction. You didn't have to trade your softness for something harder just to be taken seriously. You proved, simply by being exactly who you already were, that gentleness and strength were never actually opposites to begin with. They were always sitting in the same place the whole time, and it just took someone underestimating you badly enough to force the world to notice both at once. Think of water, gentle enough to hold in your hands, soft enough to slip through your fingers, and yet given enough time it carves straight through solid stone without ever once raising its voice to do it. That's the kind of strength this person walked away having learned about, whether or not they'd ever admit it to another living soul. That's a rare kind of lesson to hand someone without ever raising your voice to teach it. Most people need chaos to make a point land. You didn't. You let calm do what chaos never could, and the lesson landed exactly where it needed to, deep enough that it's not going anywhere anytime soon. You might wonder if it's worth caring whether they actually absorbed the lesson or simply avoided you long enough to move on without reflecting on it at all. Honestly, chosen one, it doesn't change anything either way. Whether they grow from it or just quietly steer clear of anyone who reminds them of you, the outcome is the same. The story they told themselves about people like you has been permanently corrected, whether their pride ever admits it out loud or not. You gave the world a rare kind of proof that day, chosen one. Proof that doesn't come from a lecture or a warning label, but from someone simply being exactly who they already were and letting the results speak for themselves. That's the kind of lesson people carry quietly for years, long after they've forgotten the exact details of how it happened. Number 13. Why they can't hold eye contact with you anymore. Pay attention the next time you're in the same room as them, chosen one, because you'll notice it immediately. The eye contact that used to come easy, the casual glance, the confident stare that used to carry a little edge of superiority, it's gone now, replaced by something closer to careful avoidance. That's not coincidence, and it's not random shyness showing up out of nowhere. That's what happens when someone gets humbled in a way they can't undo or explain away, and every time they look at you, they're forced to remember it happened, remember exactly how it felt to be that confident and that wrong at the same time. Eye contact requires a kind of steadiness people don't have when they're carrying that specific weight. It's easier to look somewhere else, to keep conversations brief, to find a reason to be busy whenever you're both in the same space, because looking you dead in the eye means acknowledging what happened without saying a single word about it. You don't need them to say it. Their avoidance says it clearly enough. Imagine someone who used to walk straight past a mirror without a second thought, and now finds themselves rearranging their whole route just to avoid catching their own reflection, because for a while, every reflection reminded them of the version of themselves that got it so badly wrong. That's what being around you has become for them. This is what real humbling looks like in the aftermath. It's not loud, it's not dramatic. It's quiet discomfort that follows someone around every time they're reminded of the moment they badly misjudged a person based on nothing but a soft face and an easy smile. You're not chasing that discomfort. You're not rubbing it in or bringing it up whenever you get the chance. You don't need to. It exists whether you mention it or not, sitting there every single time your paths cross, doing exactly what it's supposed to do, reminding them, quietly and permanently, exactly who they underestimated and exactly how badly that decision turned out for them. Some people might tell you that carrying this kind of lingering effect on someone else isn't your responsibility, and they'd be right, because you never asked for it and you're not managing it on purpose. It simply exists as a natural consequence of what happened, the same way a scraped knee leaves a mark long after the fall itself is forgotten. You're not the one keeping the memory alive. Their own discomfort is doing that all on its own, and chosen one, you're allowed to feel a little bit of peace watching that discomfort exist without you having to manage it. You're not responsible for fixing how they feel about what happened. You're only responsible for how you carry yourself afterward, and you're carrying it exactly the way you always have, calm, steady, and completely unbothered by what they're still working through on their own. Number 14. The lesson every future version of them is about to learn the hard way. This is where the story closes. Chosen one. Not with revenge, not with anything loud, but with a quiet kind of certainty that this pattern is going to repeat itself for them, over and over, until they finally learn to stop reading people by their face alone. Somewhere down the line, there's another person out there with a gentle voice and a soft expression who's about to get underestimated by somebody exactly like the one who tried you. And when that happens, if this person is anywhere nearby to witness it, they're going to feel something they've never quite been able to name, a flicker of recognition, a quiet, uncomfortable memory of the day they learned this lesson themselves the hard way. That's the mark you left, not a scar, not a grudge, just a permanent piece of proof that gentle people are not simple people, and soft faces have absolutely nothing to do with how sharp somebody actually is underneath. You didn't set out to teach anyone anything that day. You just responded honestly to disrespect you didn't ask for, and the lesson wrote itself. That's how the most permanent lessons always land, not through lectures, not through warnings, but through someone watching consequences happen in real time and never quite being able to shake the memory of it. Picture a hand hovering over a stove after being burned once, not because the stove is doing anything different, but because the memory of that heat never fully leaves. That's what your name has become for them now, a hand pulling back before it ever gets close enough to test you again. You've already moved on, chosen one. You're not carrying this the way they are. You're not replaying it, not letting it define you, not letting it change who you are at your core, because that was never the point. The point was simple. They dared to mess with you because your face told them a story that wasn't true, and you corrected that story without ever needing to raise your voice to do it. That correction is permanent. That humbling is permanent. And every single time they think about trying somebody like you again, they're going to remember exactly how this one ended. That's the part that outlasts everything else about this story, chosen one. Not the moment itself, not the silence in the room, not even the humbling, but the permanent shift in how somebody approaches the next person who reminds them of you. You changed a pattern without ever setting out to change anything. You just refused to be what they assumed you were, and refusing that one assumption rewired the way they'll read people for the rest of their life. If this hit home for you, if you've ever been the one somebody misjudged completely and watched them learn the hard way exactly who they were dealing with, drop a 77 in the comments and let this whole community know you've lived it too. Hit like, hit subscribe, and share this with somebody who needs to hear that soft does not mean weak. Thanks for watching, chosen ones. We'll see you in the next one. Take care and goodbye.